Meet Marcus, 34 years old, $58,000 a year, decent apartment, leased Nissan Altima, closet full of on-sale clothes. On paper, he's doing okay. Here's what his bank statements actually say. $14,200 across 4 credit cards, $31,000 on a car he doesn't own, $28,000 in student loans, a $6,500 personal loan for a temporary problem that never got fixed, total debt, $79,700. Marcus isn't stupid. He makes his payments on time. He's been working on it for 6 years. He's 34 with a net worth of negative $47,000. And here's what should terrify you. Marcus is average. According to Experian, Americans between 35 and 44 carry $135,000 in total debt. Marcus is doing better than most. That's not comfort, that's a crisis. The reason Marcus is still in debt isn't math. It's not income. It's not interest rates. It's his brain. My name is Bobby, and I've spent years studying why intelligent and hardworking people stay trapped in debt their entire lives. Not because they can't afford to get out, but because their psychology won't let them escape. If you've ever made a budget, stuck to it for 3 weeks, then blown it completely and wondered what's wrong with you, this video is going to answer that question, and the answer is probably going to make you angry. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Here's the thing. We talk about debt like it's a math problem. You owe X. What do you earn Y? Pay more than the minimum. Eliminate highest interest first. Boom, done, solved. But if debt were just math, Marcus would have been out years ago. He's run the numbers, he's used the calculators, he's watched the videos, he knows mathematically what needs to happen. He's just not doing it, and he's not alone. If debt were just math, Americans wouldn't be carrying a collective $17.5 trillion in household debt as of 2024, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And if debt were just math, people wouldn't pay off a credit card and then charge it back up to the limit within 18 months, which, according to a 2022 study from the National Endowment for Financial Education, is exactly what 40% of people do. They didn't lack information, they lacked something else entirely. Debt isn't a math problem. Debt is a psychology problem wearing a math costume. It's an emotional problem with numbers on it. It's a behavioral problem that personal finance culture insists on treating with spreadsheets. And until you understand what's actually happening inside your head, the specific psychological mechanisms that are quietly running your financial life on autopilot, no budget, no debt avalanche strategy, no side hustle income stream is going to permanently fix anything. Because you'll implement the strategy, feel good for a few weeks, hit a stressful moment, and find a brand new way to dig the hole deeper. The hole isn't the problem. The shovel is the problem. And the shovel is in your head. Let me show you exactly what I mean. There's a concept in behavioral economics called present bias. It's been studied extensively since the 1980s, and it is, without question, the single most powerful force keeping ordinary people in debt. Present bias means your brain assigns dramatically, disproportionately more value to what's happening right now than to what will happen in the future. Not a little more, dramatically more. Research from Princeton neuroscientist Samuel McClure found that different parts of the brain activate when evaluating immediate versus future rewards. Your emotional, impulsive limbic system fires for right now, while your rational prefrontal cortex handles future thinking. And in a direct competition between those two systems, the emotional system wins almost every time. Here's what present bias looks like in Marcus's life. Marcus knows, logically, intellectually, rationally, without any doubt, that paying an extra $300 this month toward his highest interest credit card will save him approximately $1,400 in interest over the following 2 years. He has run this calculation. He understands it, he believes it, but his brain doesn't experience $1,400 in future savings. His brain cannot touch that money, cannot feel it, cannot use it this weekend. His brain experiences $300 leaving his checking account right now, Friday afternoon when he's tired from a long week and his friend just texted about a concert, and he deserves something good after the week he's had. So he pays the minimum again, and he tells himself next month will be different. Next month, he'll get serious. Next month always comes. Next month always becomes this month. And this month always has something. Oh, this isn't weakness. This isn't a character flaw. This is literally how every human brain on planet Earth is wired. We evolved as creatures who needed to prioritize immediate threats and immediate rewards because our ancestors, who stopped to think about long-term planning while a predator was chasing them, didn't survive long enough to become our ancestors. Short-term thinking kept us alive for 200,000 years. And the problem, and this is the problem that credit card companies understood before most people, is that the entire consumer lending industry has built its business model around exploiting exactly this evolutionary glitch with surgical precision. They've made the pain of the debt invisible and the pleasure of getting the thing immediate. You don't feel the credit card swipe. It's a tap, a click, a saved card number. One button, the friction is gone. The pain is gone. Yeah, you'll deal with the bill later. The dopamine from getting the thing immediate. The consequence of getting the thing. A statement 30 days from now, broken into a minimum payment so small it doesn't register as damage. They engineered a system that turns your own neurology against you, and they did it deliberately. The internal documents from credit card companies in the 1990s, revealed through various congressional inquiries, show that executives explicitly discussed how to maximize revolvers, customers who carry a balance and pay interest, versus deadbeats, their actual internal term for customers who pay in full every month. The industry was built from the ground up to keep people like Marcus in exactly the position Marcus is in. Let that sink in. Now I need to take you back in history because this didn't happen by accident. Before 1950, consumer credit as we know it today simply did not exist for ordinary Americans. If you wanted something, you saved for it. You paid cash. You waited. Department stores offered some layaway programs. Some small loans existed. But the idea of a revolving line of credit attached to a plastic card that you could use anywhere, for anything, at any time, that was science fiction. In 1950, Frank McNamara forgot his wallet at a dinner in New York City and felt embarrassed. And that embarrassment led him to create the Diners Club card, a cardboard card that let members charge meals at participating restaurants. It was novelty, a curiosity for businessmen with expense accounts. By 1958, Bank of America launched what would eventually become Visa, mailing 60,000 unsolicited credit cards to residents of Fresno, California. Just sent them. Didn't ask, didn't require an application, just dropped credit into people's mailboxes and waited. It was called the Fresno drop, and it was, by most modern ethical standards, predatory. It worked spectacularly. By 1978, the Supreme Court's Marquette National Bank decision allowed banks to export interest rates across state lines, effectively eliminating usury caps. South Dakota and Delaware immediately eliminated interest rate ceilings to attract bank headquarters. Credit card interest rates that had been capped at 12% in some states suddenly had no ceiling. By the mid-1980s, 20%, 24%, 29% APR was standard, legal, everywhere. What changed wasn't that Americans suddenly became irresponsible. What changed was the environment. The system was restructured, legislatively and technologically, to make debt easy, normal, and inescapable. And then the culture followed. By the 1990s, having a credit card wasn't a privilege. It was expected. By the 2000s, having multiple credit cards was responsible credit management. Having a high credit score, your debt management score, let's be honest about what it measures, became a symbol of financial sophistication. The system didn't just create a product, it created a psychology. It created a culture where debt is normal, expected, managed rather than eliminated, and where the person aggressively paying off debt and refusing new credit is seen as the weird one. By 2024, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the credit card industry alone generates over $130 billion annually in interest and fees from American consumers. That's not revenue from people who couldn't afford things. That's revenue extracted from people who bought things they could have afforded if they'd saved, but who didn't save, because the system was designed to make saving feel unnecessary. They built the machine. We just live inside it. Now, let's go deeper, because present bias alone doesn't explain why Marcus is still in debt after 6 years. 6 years is long enough that the initial shock should have worn off and the rational brain should have taken over. Except there's a second psychological mechanism running underneath present bias, and it might be even more dangerous. It's called debt normalization, and it's killing Marcus's future more quietly and more completely than any interest rate. No, debt normalization is what happens when debt stops feeling like a crisis and starts feeling like furniture. It's just there. It's part of the room. You stop seeing it. You stop feeling it. It's no longer an emergency. It's just Tuesday. Marcus hit debt normalization around year 3. The initial panic, the sick feeling when he first added everything up and saw $79,700, faded. He wasn't getting collection calls. He was making minimum payments on time. His credit score held steady. Life continued. He got a small raise. He started a Netflix show he liked. The debt was there, but it wasn't happening to him. Not visibly, not urgently. So the urgency disappeared. And without urgency, there's no sustained action. Without sustained action, the debt compounds slowly and silently, month after month, year after year, while Marcus goes about his life feeling like he's managing. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology, found that people who carry debt for more than 3 years show significantly reduced emotional and psychological response to their debt balance. They've habituated. Their nervous system has adapted to the stimulus, the same way you stop hearing the refrigerator hum after a few minutes in a quiet room. The pain that should be functioning as an alarm has been silenced by exposure. Here's what that means practically. In year 1, Marcus felt his debt every day. It was a weight, a presence. It motivated him to make extra payments twice. He bought a book about personal finance. He was engaged with the problem. By year 3, the debt was background noise. He thought about it occasionally, felt vaguely guilty, did nothing specific, made the minimums, continued. By year 6, the debt is just part of his financial landscape. He describes himself as someone who has some debt, not as someone in a financial crisis, not as someone who needs to act urgently, someone who has some debt, like someone who has a slightly cluttered garage, something to deal with eventually. This is the trap. The debt didn't become less dangerous. His relationship with it changed, and that changed relationship is the reason 6 years passed and the number barely moved. But there's a third layer. And this is the one that the personal finance industry almost never discusses because it's uncomfortable and it requires going to places that feel more like therapy than budgeting. Debt has an identity component. Spending has an identity component. And for millions of Americans, particularly those who grew up in households where money was scarce, stressful, or shameful, the ability to spend freely is one of the most powerful identity signals they've ever had access to. Let me be specific about Marcus, because this is important. Marcus grew up in a household where money was a source of constant low-grade anxiety. His parents worked. They weren't destitute, but there was always tension around the bills, always a moment of hesitation before any purchase, always a feeling that nice things were for other people, people with more, people from different families, people who'd figured something out that his family hadn't. When Marcus got his first real job and his first credit card at 24, something shifted that he has never fully examined. He could eat at the good restaurant and not check the right side of the menu first. He could buy the jacket he actually wanted instead of the one that was on clearance. He could look like the people he'd always watched from the outside. The spending wasn't frivolous. The spending was therapeutic. The spending was proof to himself every single time that things were different now, that he'd made it, that he wasn't his parents, that scarcity wasn't his story anymore. Except he was funding a non-scarcity identity with debt that was recreating the exact financial stress and limitation he'd been trying to escape since he was 12 years old. Psychologists call this compensatory consumption, using spending as a response to emotional pain, status anxiety, unmet psychological needs, or deep feelings of inadequacy. And it is almost impossible to address with a budget spreadsheet because the spending is not about the stuff. The stuff is almost irrelevant. It's about the feeling the spending produces, the identity it maintains, the story Marcus tells himself about who he is now and who he'll never be again. You cannot fix compensatory consumption with a budget any more than you can treat depression with a calendar. You're operating on the wrong level entirely. And here's what makes this particularly cruel. The debt that results from compensatory consumption eventually becomes its own source of shame and stress, which then drives more compensatory consumption to escape the bad feelings about the debt. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Stress drives spending, drives debt, drives stress, drives spending, round and round, for years, for decades, for entire financial lives. Marcus isn't broken. Marcus is running a completely understandable psychological program that was written in childhood and has never been examined or updated. Most people in debt are running the same program, different details, same architecture. There's one more psychological mechanism I need to cover before we talk about what actually breaks the cycle. It's called financial learned helplessness, and it was first identified by adapting Martin Seligman's landmark learned helplessness research from the 1960s into financial contexts. Here's the concept. Seligman discovered that when subjects, initially animals, later humans, were repeatedly exposed to negative situations they couldn't control or escape, they eventually stopped trying to escape even when escape became possible. They'd been conditioned to believe that their actions didn't matter and that nothing they did would change the outcome. So they stopped acting. In a financial context, it looks like this. Marcus has tried to get out of debt before. He made a plan. He cut back. He felt good for a while. Then something happened. Unexpected car repair, a medical bill, a rough month, and the progress reversed. He tried again. Same result. Tried a third time. Made some progress. Then the holidays came and the credit cards crept back up. After enough cycles of effort followed by setback, Marcus's brain drew a conclusion. Not consciously, not articulately, but deeply in the operating system where real beliefs live. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm in debt. I'll probably always be in debt. This is just how it is for people like me. That belief, that one quiet, devastating, invisible belief, is more expensive than any interest rate because it eliminates effort entirely. How may I sacrifice today for a tomorrow that's going to look the same anyway? Financial learned helplessness is why people with good incomes stay in debt indefinitely. It's why the second half of the budget month always collapses. It's why January optimism becomes February resignation every single year. Not because people are weak, because they've been conditioned through repeated experience to believe that their actions don't connect to outcomes. If breaking that conditioning is not a financial task, it's a psychological one. So what actually works? Let me make this concrete and specific. Marcus takes home roughly $3,667 per month after taxes. His minimum debt payments total $1,100 per month. Rent, utilities, food, transportation, and basic living costs take up another $1,800. He has $767 left over each month. At his current pace, minimum payments, no urgency. Now normalized debt, he'll spend 22 years paying off his $79,700 in debt and will pay an additional $47,000 in pure interest. He'll be 56 years old before he's free. His best earning years will have been handed month by month to creditors. Here's the alternative. Here's what happens when Marcus addresses the psychology first and the math second. Step 1. Manufacture the crisis that debt normalization killed. Marcus needs to sit down alone in a quiet room with no phone and actually calculate his debt-free date on his current trajectory. Not as a number, as a life event. 56 years old. His parents will be in their 80s. His potential kids, if he has them, will be in college. His physical health will have passed its peak. His best decades will be gone. He needs to feel that. Write it down. Make it real. Put it somewhere he looks every single day. The brain responds to urgency. If the urgency isn't naturally present, you have to engineer it deliberately. So step 2. Identify which psychological trap is running the show. Is it present bias? Constantly choosing now over later? Debt normalization? The numbness that's eliminated urgency? Compensatory consumption? Spending as identity management? Learned helplessness? The belief that nothing he does actually matters? Most people in serious debt are running 2 or 3 of these simultaneously. Write them down by name. Naming a psychological mechanism reduces its unconscious power over you. No, this is not optional. This is the foundation. Step 3. Attack debt with the snowball method, not the avalanche. The mathematically optimal approach is to pay highest interest debt first, the avalanche method. On a spreadsheet, it saves the most money. In real human psychology, with real human emotions and real life getting in the way, it consistently underperforms the snowball method because it takes too long to produce a visible win. Research from the Harvard Business Review in 2016 confirmed what behavioral economists had suspected for years. The psychological momentum generated by eliminating a single debt entirely, regardless of its interest rate, produces sustained behavior change that the mathematically optimal approach does not. Marcus should attack his smallest balance first, the $6,500 personal loan, with everything he has. Pay it off. Feel the win. Let that win break the learned helplessness cycle. Now and then redirect to the next smallest. The math is slightly less efficient. The psychology produces results. The math cannot. Step 4. Find $1,667 per month in additional debt payment capacity. Marcus's $767 surplus is his starting point. He cuts $400 per month in discretionary spending. Not everything. Enough to be meaningful without being unsustainable. He picks up $500 per month in side income. Weekend gig work, freelance, overtime, whatever's available. And that gives him $1,667 per month going toward debt. At that rate, his $79,700 is completely gone in 4.3 years. Total interest paid drops from $47,000 to under $10,000. He saves $37,000 and gets 18 years of his life back. He'll be 38, not 56, completely debt-free. Step 5, and this is the one that determines whether it sticks. Build the new identity before the old one pulls him back. Marcus needs a new story about who he is. Not a frugal person, not a deprived person, not someone who can't have nice things, a free person. A person who will take an actual vacation without a credit card bill waiting at home. A person who could lose his job tomorrow and not panic for 6 months. A person who can make career decisions based on what he wants to do rather than what pays enough to make the minimum payments. A person who looks at the car dealership and doesn't feel tempted because he knows what that payment actually costs over time. That identity, freedom as the aspirational self-concept, has to replace spending as status, not through willpower, through genuine belief that freedom is worth more than the jacket. Because it is, it's just not as visible.